Caution: the following story contains disturbing content and is not suitable for children. The Grinning Nightmare. In the peaceful town of Eldridge, an unspeakable horror began to unfold. This is the terrifying story of a grinning nightmare that haunted the dreams and reality of one unfortunate soul. Welcome to The Grinning Nightmare. Eldridge was a picturesque town nestled in a valley, where everyone knew each other, and nothing out of the ordinary ever seemed to happen. The townspeople lived simple lives, and their biggest concerns were the usual small-town gossip and annual festivals. Among them was Lydia Harper, a quiet woman in her late 20s who worked as a librarian. Lydia had recently inherited her grandmother's old house on the outskirts of town. The house was charming but had seen better days, and Lydia decided to move in and restore it to its former glory. She spent her days organizing the library and her evenings working on the house, finding solace in the routine. One night, after a long day at work, Lydia was unpacking boxes in the attic when she came across an old, dusty mirror. The mirror was ornate, with an intricately carved wooden frame. She wiped away the dust and decided to hang it in her bedroom, thinking it would add a touch of elegance to the room. As she placed the mirror on the wall, she noticed something odd. The reflection seemed slightly distorted, as if the mirror held secrets of its own. She shrugged it off, attributing it to the age of the glass, and went to bed. That night, Lydia had a vivid nightmare. She was in her bedroom, but everything was darker and more sinister. Shadows danced on the walls, and the air was thick with an unsettling presence. In the corner of the room, she saw a figure, tall and gaunt, with long black hair obscuring its face. As she stared, the figure slowly turned to face her. Lydia's blood ran cold. The figure's face was a grotesque mask of white skin stretched tight over a skull, with hollow black eyes that seemed to bore into her soul. Its mouth was twisted into a wide, unnatural grin, revealing sharp, yellow teeth. The figure began to move towards her, its head tilting at an unnatural angle. Lydia tried to scream, but no sound came out. She was paralyzed with fear as the figure reached out a bony hand towards her. Just as it was about to touch her, she woke up, drenched in sweat and gasping for breath. She looked around her room, relieved to find it normal, but the sense of unease lingered. The next day at the library, Lydia couldn't shake the feeling of dread. She tried to focus on her work, but the image of the grinning figure haunted her thoughts. She confided in her friend Sarah, who worked with her at the library. "Maybe it's just stress," Sarah suggested. "You've been working really hard on the house. Maybe you just need a break." Lydia nodded, though she wasn't entirely convinced. That night she avoided the mirror and tried to relax, but sleep did not come easily. When she finally drifted off, the nightmare returned, more vivid and terrifying than before. This time the figure was closer, its grin even wider. Lydia could see every detail of its grotesque face, the sunken cheeks, the hollow eyes, the sharp teeth. It reached out to her, and she felt a cold, clammy touch on her arm. She woke up screaming, the sensation lingering on her skin. Lydia knew she couldn't go on like this. She decided to do some research on the mirror, hoping to find some explanation for the nightmares. She scoured the library archives and discovered that the mirror had once belonged to a notorious local figure, Agnes Blackwood. Agnes was rumored to have been a witch who practiced dark magic. She had lived in the house many years ago and was said to have used the mirror for her rituals. The townspeople believed she had cursed the mirror, and after her mysterious disappearance, it had been passed down through the generations, its dark history forgotten. Lydia realized that she had to get rid of the mirror, but she was also curious about its power. She contacted a local historian, Professor David Clark, who specialized in occult artifacts. Professor Clark agreed to visit her and examine the mirror. When the professor arrived, he immediately sensed the dark energy emanating from the mirror. "This mirror is indeed cursed," he said gravely. "Agnes Blackwood was known for her malevolent practices. It's possible that the mirror holds a part of her spirit, or worse, something she summoned." Lydia shuddered at the thought. "What can I do to get rid of it?" she asked. Professor Clark advised her to perform a cleansing ritual. "We need to break the mirror's connection to the spirit world," he explained. "It won't be easy, and it might be dangerous, but it's the only way." That night, Lydia and Professor Clark prepared for the ritual. They gathered the necessary ingredients, salt, candles, and herbs, and began the incantation. As they chanted, the air in the room grew colder, and the shadows seemed to come alive. The mirror began to tremble, and Lydia saw the grinning figure appear in its reflection. It was more menacing than ever, its eyes glowing with a malevolent light. The figure's grin widened, and it reached out, trying to break free from the mirror. Professor Clark continued the incantation, his voice steady despite the growing tension. "Lydia, pour the salt around the mirror," he instructed. Lydia did as she was told, her hands shaking. The figure let out a chilling scream, and the room was filled with a deafening roar. The mirror cracked, and a blinding light filled the room. Lydia felt a force pushing her back, and she fell to the floor. When the light faded, the mirror was shattered, its pieces scattered across the floor. The air was still, and the oppressive presence was gone. Lydia and Professor Clark breathed a sigh of relief, knowing they had succeeded. But as Lydia began to clean up the broken glass, she noticed something unsettling. In one of the shards, she saw a faint reflection of the grinning figure, its eyes still watching her. She quickly picked up the shard and threw it into a box, determined to dispose of it far away from her home. The next day, Lydia and Professor Clark took the box of mirror shards to a remote location and buried it deep in the ground. They performed another cleansing ritual to ensure that the spirit would not return. With the mirror gone, Lydia's nightmares ceased, and she finally felt at peace. She continued to work on her house, grateful for the support of her friends and the knowledge she had gained. The experience had changed her, but she was determined to move forward. Years passed, and Lydia's life returned to normal. She met someone special, got married, and started a family. The house that had once been a source of fear became a warm and loving home. She rarely thought about the mirror or the grinning figure that had haunted her. But one day, while cleaning the attic, Lydia found an old, dusty box. Her heart skipped a beat as she opened it and saw the shard of the mirror she had missed. The grinning figure's face stared back at her, its eyes still filled with malice. Lydia knew she had to act quickly. She took the shard to Professor Clark, who was now retired but still knowledgeable about the occult. He agreed to help her once more. "We need to destroy this shard completely," he said. "It seems the spirit is still attached to it." They performed a final ritual, this time using fire to melt the shard. As the glass melted, the figure's face twisted in agony before disappearing completely. The curse was finally broken, and Lydia felt a weight lift off her shoulders. The story of the grinning nightmare serves as a chilling reminder that some objects hold more than just memories. Lydia's bravery and determination saved her from a malevolent spirit, but the experience left a lasting mark. Always be cautious of the things you bring into your home, and never underestimate the power of the unknown. Thank you for joining us for this spine-chilling tale. If you enjoyed The Grinning Nightmare, be sure to like, comment, and subscribe for more stories that will keep you up at night. Until next time, remember, sometimes the greatest horrors are the ones we cannot see. Please, like and subscribe. Comment and share if you like this kind of horror story. Thank you, your Nightmare Stream.